So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining work session for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag of the
of the
United
United
States
States of America,
and to the republic
republic
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all. Please remain standing. As a country, we have marked the solemn milestone of 100,000 lives lost to COVID-19, and we are grappling with the deaths of, among others, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, and David McAtee. Unfortunately, just the most recent murders of Black people in America. Please join me for a lengthy moment of silence. Thank you. Any moments are long enough at this point. We've got the sun set into my face. That didn't really help. All right, we'll try our best so we have sunshine. So yesterday, Ossining observed a National Day of Mourning and Lament, honoring more than over 100,000 lives lost to COVID-19. At 7 p.m., houses of worship throughout Ossining rang their bells and residents placed candles outside their homes. For the past several weeks, curbing the spread of this virus has been priority number one for my colleagues and me in the town and village governments. We've seen so many in our own Ossining family lost as a result of this deadly virus. And yet, following recent events across the country, I have also been constantly thinking of how we can better confront racism through our personal and professional daily interactions, as I'm sure many of you have as well. As we mourn those we've lost, we are also forced to reckon with the inequalities in our communities that have been brought to light as a result of this pandemic. Our suffering has been unequal. Our experiences have been divided by the differences in the color of our skin, our age, and the places we call home. I hope you'll join me this evening to remember those we've lost to COVID-19, while also recognizing the uncomfortable truth that this virus has not impacted us all equally, especially in light of the recent taking of innocent Black lives across our country. This brief moment of mourning must be the start of us tackling this difficult reality head on, hopefully resulting in a better future for all. Okay, so I'm going to just launch right into my announcements. Before I start my announcements, I do want to share a few words about the devastating murder of George Floyd by a police officer in Minneapolis while other officers stood by. This horror, in addition to the murders of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, and David McAtee, continues to throw into stark relief the ugly realities of racism that our Black community members live with. Each of these people should be alive. When the people in our government who we trust to protect life instead of take life, when we as a government and government officials fail to confront our country's legacy of racism or fail to invest in raising up our community members, we fail our public. We cannot allow this. We believe that Black lives matter. Black futures matter. We are committed to amplifying the voices of our Black community members who are advocating for change that is long overdue. This weekend, young people from our Ossining community came together to remind us of how important it is to listen, educate, and advocate against racism. The horrific and violent actions that led to Mr. Floyd's death cannot go unnoticed anywhere. Here in Ossining, where we strive to be inclusive and recognize the beauty of our differences, where we celebrate our diversity, where many come to live specifically because they believe this is a place of acceptance, we know we are not immune. We must fight this scourge by standing up to hate. We must and we will continue to assert that we will not tolerate it here or anywhere. We understand there may be more activities advocating for change happening later this week. We will plan to support peaceful demonstrations with peace. As your local elected officials, we know it is our responsibility, even in a town such as Ossining, whose board is not the direct policy setting agency for the police department that serves us, to demand that law enforcement professionals face the same accountability to the public as we expect from all our public servants. We also have a responsibility to challenge racism and root out hate within our own circles and our own spheres of influence. The town board and I aim to rise to this challenge. Earlier this year, we announced that we were forming a community equity task force with the goals of sharing resources and beginning the uncomfortable yet necessary conversations surrounding racial inequality with the community as a whole. The Community Equity Task Force, which is currently comprised of representatives from town and village government, Ossining Public Library, Ossining NAACP, former educators, and members of the faith community, will be meeting this week to discuss ways to galvanize the current climate and move towards real change within our own community. If you or an organization you are affiliated with are interested in joining this effort, please do not hesitate to contact me at dlevenberg@townofOssining.com. We also look forward to continue to work with our partners in the Village of Ossining, including Police Chief Kevin Sylvester, to ensure everyone in our community feels safe and secure here. The town board and I shared a longer message via a press release earlier today, which has been posted to the town's website. I hope you'll take the time to read what we shared and join us in these efforts moving forward. As always, I remain so proud of the Ossining community in the face of extreme challenges. We look forward to working closely together with our entire community as we look towards a brighter and more equitable future for all. So if you are interested in finding out where any of those other demonstrations are, you should just look at social media. And if you do choose to participate, please remember to wear a mask and be safe for everyone's sake, including your own. We're now in week 2 of phase 1 reopening in the Mid-Hudson region, of which Westchester is a part, along with our neighbors in Rockland, Putnam, Dutchess, Sullivan, Ulster, and Orange counties. So far, this means that only phase 1 businesses, specifically those in the construction, agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting, contactless retail, manufacturing, and wholesale trade industries are eligible to reopen. Other industries have also been authorized to reopen by the state, including veterinary offices and dental offices. However, if everything continues smoothly, we will likely be able to follow upstate regions by moving on to phase 2 sometime in the next week or so. I encourage all businesses to visit forward.ny.gov to review industry-specific guidelines for phase 1, phase 2, and essential businesses. All businesses are required to complete a business safety plan and must read and affirm industry-specific guidelines. The business safety plan must be conspicuously posted at the business premises and available upon inspection by New York State Department of Health or local safety and health authorities. Even though phase 2 businesses are not eligible to reopen, now is the time to carefully review and complete these documents because adequate preparation is key. And I know that I've already heard from many businesses that are already looking at phase 3 and phase 4 that are getting ready for that. We're in the midst of an election season with many opportunities to vote. Presidential primary, local congressional primary, Village of Briarcliff board and school district boards, library board, and budget votes. Recent events have only reinforced the importance of being an active citizen. Voting is a key way to help fight for equitable resources in our own communities. This year, the school district budget and Board of Education elections for both the Ossining and Briarcliff school districts are being conducted entirely via absentee mail-in ballots. All qualified voters within the Ossining and Briarcliff school districts should have received a ballot directly via mail. No need to apply this time, and you have a return pre-stamped envelope. You must complete your ballot, and it must be received in the mail by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, June 9th. I know that we're still looking to get more clarification on why there's no postmark involved. We think it might be because there's a stamped self-addressed envelope, but there's no in-person voting or voter registration allowed. So please remember that if you live in the Ossining School District, you're also being asked to vote on the Ossining Public Library budget and trustee elections for the library, as well as the school board. Both school districts and the library have additional information regarding their proposed budgets and their board candidates on their websites. If you have questions, you can reach the Ossining School District Clerk, Ileana Ortiz, at Ortiz, O-R-T-I-Z, at OssiningUFSD.org, and the Briarcliff School District Clerk by calling 914-432-8130. Please fill out your ballots as soon as possible and send them in now to ensure that you do not miss the deadline. And I believe you're getting very close if you haven't done so already. Finally, I want to once again remind you to fill out the 2020 census. As we reflect upon the events and protests happening around the country, it remains as important as ever to ensure everyone is counted. Black and brown communities are traditionally undercounted, and that is simply unacceptable. Census counts directly impact representation in Congress and allocations of funding. Now is not the time to allow communities to receive disproportionate levels of funding or have their voices silenced at the federal level. Please encourage everyone you know to fill out the census at 2020census.gov. The town of Ossining response rate has inched up to 63% as of our note today. The village of Ossining is at 58%, and the village of Briarcliff Manor is at 76%. But we can do better. So with your help, please make sure that that census is filled out. I also understand that people are going to be going door to door to collect information in August if you haven't responded. So let's avoid that additional contact that's unnecessary if you do fill out your census in advance, and do so now. You can do it online, you can do it by phone, you can do it by mail. I also have a couple of other, I wanted to just mention there's an event this Thursday night, the first Ossining Parent Leadership Virtual Conference, Uniting Through Community Partnerships. Join us to learn the Ossining response to COVID-19 and current available resources. And I will be participating in that panel discussion along with Ossining Open Door, Neighbors Link, and the Galata House, as well as our keynote speaker, who is our Ossining Superintendent, Dr. Ray Sanchez. So hopefully you'll be able to join. The meeting ID for the Zoom meeting is 835-6662-2180, and the password is Ossining. I think it's a capital O for Ossining. That's how it's listed. But there will also be a link added to the district's website, OssiningOUFSD.org, on the day of the conference so that you can have easy access. And what was the other?
Yeah, Unity resolution.
So I just also wanted to emphasize that the town had adopted a Unity resolution some years ago to basically assert that we are and always have been an inclusive community. We are going to continue to refine that, most likely with our equity task force, and bring it back to the forefront of our website. So often as new information becomes important, other information drops to the back, but we obviously know this is more important than ever to remind everybody that we believe and we assert that we are in fact an inclusive community. So we'll have that back up on our website soon, and again, know that we will be looking to address how we can refine it and make it even more representative of what we all believe. So with that, do any of my board colleagues have anything additional that they would like to bring to the community's attention? Councilwoman Feldman, are you reaching for your mute button to unmute yourself or not? No. Okay. Councilwoman Shaw, I know, Councilwoman Shaw, you've been doing a lot of work with the school district equity task force as well, that you've been on for many years. I know that you're going to continue to share resources with our community equity task force, and I think that we might have some other members from the school district joining us. I know some young folk have reached out also to participate in that, so we hope that we can bring all resources to bear at doing a better job educating, advocating, and listening, as Jillian Knowles so put it so well at Saturday night down at the waterfront?
Jalay, actually, the school equity task force had an emergency meeting on Monday, and Jalay was kind enough to join us and tell us a little about her experience. And also, many of the students that spoke out at the protest were part of either the full equity task force or the building equity task force. So they're confident enough and knowledgeable enough to get out there and speak their minds. So it was very impressive, and we were very proud. I know the school is working on finding ways that to have safe spaces where the children can talk via Zoom or some other way, so that if anyone is having difficulty or just needs to talk, the school, I know, is working on ways that staff and students can do that. So those are some of the things we're working on this week.
Okay, so I guess without further ado, we are going to launch into our 2 departmental reports this evening. We're going to be hearing from our receiver of taxes, Honorable Holly Perlowitz. Despite the significant challenges that we all have been facing as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, Holly and her team, Patty and Angela, have been working tirelessly to ensure that our taxpayers do not experience any significant change in customer services while our offices remain closed to the public. So, Receiver Perlowitz, you have had quite a busy quarter. We're so grateful to you for joining us this evening with your report. And I don't know, I think that Victoria's going to help with screen sharing, right? Thanks so much.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. It's really good to see all of you, albeit in screens. It's really good to see all your faces amongst all these difficult times. Can you hear me okay before I get started?
You can.
All right. Okay, terrific. So tonight I'm going to be reviewing the most recent collection, which is the 2020 town and county tax collection, and also just overall updating you on the remaining balances due from our 2019 warrants and also the outstanding liens. Related to the 2020 town and county, I'm pleased to say, while it was certainly challenging because the collection occurred right in the middle of the storm of the start of the coronavirus and our stay-at-home orders or sheltering in place or a number of different things. But we were in the midst of getting the bills out to all of our taxpayers, and then of course what followed was the collection effort. And honestly, my main goal was to just get the logistics of getting bills out and the logistics of receiving payments certainly worked through, but also just to continue to communicate as much as we could with all of our taxpayers. It was my goal not to ever end a day without an email responded to or a telephone call responded to, and I believe that we met that goal thanks to the help, frankly, of our town supervisor, who took every opportunity to help me communicate to the networks that she had, to our town board members, as well as the village mayor helped as well. And I was appreciative of everyone just joining in and getting information out to our taxpayers, which is always so difficult during times. People didn't know if they could come into our office and how they could handle payment with their inability to actually, for us to have the public come into our office. But I think we did a good job of getting the message out, and thank you to everyone who helped. So I want to happily report that as of the end of May, we had collected 96.25% of the warrant, which was a little bit less than last year, which was 98.1%. So a drop of 1.8% from year over year in terms of the percentage that we collected. But given all things considered, I think that was pretty good. And there are some additional factors to be considered, and that's that the town had offered, along with the county, had offered 2 programs which don't actually come to an end until July 15th. And just to sort of quickly review, those 2 programs are for everybody. They were reduced penalties. So if you had paid in the month of May, your penalty, which is normally 2%, was only a half a percent. And if you pay in the from June 1 to July 15th, the penalty is 1% when it was normally 5%. So I do suspect that some taxpayers are taking advantage of that, the reduced penalty for everybody. And in addition to that, there was a hardship program where if you could demonstrate that you had a hardship and were able to sign a certification, that your penalties would be waived until July 15th. So again, I think that our taxpayers were thankful for that. Many have communicated their thankfulness.
And just to clarify, a financial hardship based on COVID-19.
Correct. Thank you, Dana. Yes. So many of our taxpayers have communicated that they're going to take advantage of that, and we're thankful for that opportunity. So again, that 96.25% will probably climb through July 15th. So the other things that I wanted to mention, and we'll come back to this slide in a minute. I did want to also mention that over 300 people that, in addition to the normal level of using our online system, that 300 more people than usual used our online system. And that was wonderful. Myself, along with Patty and Angela, my colleagues, were delighted to walk those who had never used it before through how to use it. And the feedback I got was very positive. And in fact, I think there was a lot of surprise at how easy it was. And I'm happy for that because it can be used in the future, and it is quite user-friendly. So just going back to the slide for a quick second, I think that it's also important to, I sort of separated it into, the first is just our active collection, which is the 2020 Town and County collection. And then right underneath that, thank you for using your pointer, Victoria, I appreciate it, for the 2019 warrants, both the Town and County and the school and the library warrants. So you can see between those 2 warrants, we've collected 98.8% of that. And I wanted to just draw that to your attention because it is those 2019 warrants which will turn into liens which we're required to do and be filed in July with Westchester County. So just again to bring your attention to that. And then further, you can see the delinquent tax liens that we still have outstanding. And I'm happy to say that we continue to collect on all of those. Every month, someone somewhere is paying those as well. Our 2017 delinquent taxes will go to auction, should it be permissible, in July or in August, if taxes are not paid in full by then. So,
quick question in the midst of all this. You had mentioned about May, I mean, you talked about, obviously May is over and you weren't sure if people were going to be taking advantage of those lower penalties. Do,
Yes.
do you have any May? I should have asked you this in advance, but I'm just curious if you had any May to May comparison. If we know that, more people paid in May, or do we think just from the feedback that you've gotten that more people are going to hold off until that July 15th date?
The feedback that I've gotten is that many people are going to hold off. Our May collections were about consistent with last year. I think that was what your question was.
Yes. Yeah, it was kind of twofold, but yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I have an observation, or kind of our total warrant for the town county is 32,900,000. Anyway, we went down by
Yes.
That's right.
$200,000.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
And
I like that.
yeah, we did. And
So we collected less taxes from our residents this year. Our warrant was lower this year than it was last year. Just clarifying.
yes, it was, and it was lower this year by last year by about, I can give you the exact amount. It was lower by $206,000.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why we use a percentage, because then you're comparing collection efforts. But yes, it was down by $200,000. All right. Are there any other questions or concerns that you'd like me to address at this point?
I think you're doing a really great job. I'll be interested to see how many people. I believe you're right that there are people waiting until July to take advantage of the no penalty or lower penalty. So I think this year will be more interesting to see what happens in July. And then
I think,
forward,
yeah.
So
I think you have other slides, though. You're not done yet, right? Right.
No, I am.
Oh, you are.
Completed. Yeah, I am
Oh.
completed. Yeah. So, Councilman Feldman, I agree with you. And while I don't have a scheduled time with the town board, clearly I report to you monthly. So I'll let you know how that goes as we go into June and July as well.
Right.
thank you.
So I would just like to add that we've sort of been watching all of this in action, and we've been in and out of 16 Croton, and just seeing how your department has been dealing with everything, and often organizing a lot of the mail that we get on the third floor, and just again answering questions with a smile at a very, very difficult time. And being super responsive to our taxpayers. I just want to give you all a big shout out for that, and just let you know that on behalf of all of our taxpayers, we're very appreciative of that customer service. I think it's critically important, and I know that it's absolutely your focus. So as bad as it is to collect the taxes, it's certainly nice to do it with a smiling voice on the other end.
Yes, and thank you very much. I'm going to pass that along to Patty and Angela, and also truly, the clerk's office acted as a bit of a welcomer as well for the mail, as well as people who knocked on doors, and I was very appreciative of just the whole team at 16 Croton Avenue. So thank you for bringing that up.
Anybody else? Any other council members that would like to?
Madam Supervisor?
Yes.
I thought Liz was going to tell you to do your roll call.
Oh, because it's not a regular meeting, so we didn't do roll call. I don't think we usually do roll call at our work sessions?
No.
Yeah.
I don't have to do roll call. I don't have to do roll call.
That's why I put it on Liz.
Okay. Liz, it's your fault that we didn't do roll call. Apparently.
I apologize. I'll work on that.
Okay. Okay, well, in that case, without any other questions, once again, thank you so much to our receiver of taxes, Holly Perlowitz, for your excellent report and all the good work that you've been doing it under very trying circumstances. We're very thankful for all of that. Next up, we have our Recreation Superintendent, Bill Garrison. Bill has also had quite a busy quarter, navigating changes to our park offerings, which have gone kind of quiet, and figuring out a plan to keep people from being bored online, especially our kids. Regular communication with the public, assisting with our food distribution, our mask distribution, cleaning our facilities, overseeing a lot of that stuff. Our parks and public spaces have been coveted assets during this crisis. We've had to deal with signage and a lot of other things that have just been thrown at us. Bill, thank you so much for your assistance, and we look forward to hearing your report.
Thank you, Supervisor Levenberg. Good evening, Town Council. I guess the big news of the day is you probably heard that the governor came out today and announced that summer day camps can happen starting June 29th. Last week, we canceled the Ossining day camps. So although the governor approved day camps to operate as of June 9th, the state has not given any guidance to how the day camp should run. Our plan all along was we had figured that at some point we were going to get some guidance from the state on how to run programs. And once we do receive that guidance, we are going to kind of reinvent how we do summer camp. And we will be implementing summer camp type programs in Ossining this summer. We just don't know what that's going to look like at this point until we get the guidance from the state. One of the things, the CDC has put out guidelines related to camps, and they include social distancing, monitoring the health, screening campers and staff on a daily basis, smaller group settings in the camp. So those are all things that we're going to have to consider. So we're getting lots of emails and questions right now because of the news of the day, and people want to know if camp is going to be back on. The problem is that given the CDC guidelines and not knowing what the state guidelines are, camp would not look like what it has been for forever in Ossining. So it's going to look very different, and we've got to figure that out. And that's going to be on our short list to do within the next month so that we can get something up and going as quickly as possible. So that's the big news of the day regarding camp. Some other news in the department, as Supervisor Levenberg had stated, we started about 8 weeks ago a virtual recreation program called Boredom Busters. Hopefully you get those emails from us on a daily basis. And what we decided to do was to put out daily type of activities for people of all ages, adults, kids, and things that families could do. We have live events such as a nature hike, educational type of thing. We were doing that from Crawbucky, which is one of the village parks, but actually tomorrow is going to be a live event from Sally Slope Sitting Park, one of the town parks. We've been getting about 30 or 40 people online at this Facebook Live event for these nature activities. We also have a live Zumba, family Zumba, which is on Saturday mornings, where we're getting about 30 people checking in. And on Wednesday evenings, we have another live event where it's one of our pound classes, which is one of our popular fitness classes. So we're continuing that. All these events are free. We also had a live magic show and we had over 90 people that had tuned into that. So we also did a pet photo contest where we had over 100 people submit photos of their pets. So we've been getting a lot of participation in our virtual online recreation programs, more than I thought we would. So we're continuing to do that. Our hope is that once we do get more guidance and we move into phase 4, which is where recreation can open. We have to kind of keep remembering that with everything kind of opening and we're eager to start things. Recreation is really not supposed to open until phase 4. So we're probably at least a month away from that or so, but we're going to be prepared to start programs, outdoor programs in our parks, taking different types of fitness programs in our parks, taking what guidance is given to us from the state so that we can implement a robust program. Another thing that's happening is that the Youth Bureau is moving forward. Last month, the county legislators approved Austin. More with that, the village is moving forward to create a local law which would create the Youth Bureau and Youth Board. And we're moving right ahead with that. We also are going to be working with the Open Door, which has a grant that is going to be funding a youth leadership program this summer that we will be hiring a coordinator for that, and recreation staff will be working to assist in implementing that program. And this couldn't come at a better time, I think, for Austin to provide some leadership development skills for our youth and help them have a voice with all the current events that have been going on over the past few weeks. So we're looking forward to getting that up and going as well. Supervisor Lemberg also mentioned we've been heavily involved with food distribution. The recreation staff pack over 900 bags of food each week, and that food gets distributed out to 3 different locations. And we also been involved in getting masks out to the public as well. So we've had businesses come to the community center to pick up masks, and we also have been having masks out at the food distribution sites so that people who are in need of those can have masks. So even though the community center is not open and all the typical things that we do we're not doing, we're still very busy in this unprecedented time. So,
Awesome. I was just gonna say that as far as the boredom busters, even though we get them every day, we haven't had time to actually look at them or to be bored because we're all so busy
right.
trying to deal with the new normal and trying to just keep up to speed. There's so much information that gets thrown at us every day, from the governor to the county executive to information from our various law firms, and it's very, very, and then interpreting the law. And as you mentioned, the governor came out today and said, yes, summer camps, and no, we have no guidance. And it's like, how is everybody supposed to plan? Or on our county calls, we've been asking for months, what's happening with summer camp? What's happening with summer camp? Is there any guidance about summer camp? And finally, so many communities have just pulled the plug on their summer camps. And now, today we found out, oh, okay for summer camp, but no guidance. So how are we supposed to deal with all of these things? And forgot to even mention signage and wrapping our playgrounds and trying to figure out how to keep things closed. It's a very daunting task that you have before you and that we all have before us, I think, right now. So we thank you for all the good work that you're putting out and trying to figure out how to navigate the lack of direction. And again, it's really not to place any blame. It's just that everybody's trying to figure it out as we go. This is not something that anybody's done before, so it's hard to know how to do it correctly. And I know, from our own business that we do here in the town, that we're always trying to consider things carefully before just communicating them with the public. So there's so many different things that we have to consider that go into each decision that gets made. And then, okay, now we've made the decision. Now, how do we tell people? So even that takes a lot of time to figure out. So sometimes we don't communicate as fast as people would like, but we try to at least get it right when we do.
Yeah, that's definitely the challenge we're in right now, because people want to know what are we doing, and we don't know because we don't know what the playing field is or what the guidelines are. So people want to know. I mean, camp is a big piece of childcare for the summer for a lot of working folks.
Right.
And we just don't have any answers right now, which is it's frustrating for all of us.
I spoke to a local business today that has a summer program, and they said, "Oh, we can run our summer program, but we don't think anybody's going to come because who would send their kids to summer camp?" So that there's the other side of it.
Right.
That while there's a question of who would, there's also the question of who has to or is desperate to, because they need a place for their kids to go and be safe and be occupied while they work or, whatever it is that they have to do. I do think that I don't think we've really gotten any clear guidance yet on our spray park, Victoria. Your birdies are very loud. No, those aren't your birds. Somebody else's birds. He's got very loud birds. Whose birds are those? If they're not,
They might be mine. I'm going to
I
mute.
think it's Bill, yeah.
Oh, it's your bills. Oh, okay. Your birds are louder than Victoria's, I think. In any case, you don't have to mute. The spray park. I know that we all know that we're going to have a challenge with our spray park, and I think the only way that we would be able to open it is with some careful monitoring and only allowing a certain number of kids in at a time. Right now, it's still considered a water attraction, which has not been approved yet by the governor to be open. In fact, we heard yesterday on our call with the county that only municipal pools, as far as public pools are concerned, or pools in general, only public pools have been, bless you, okay to open, and they, with certain restrictions in place. I don't know if that's even our indoor pool, or I don't know if our community center pool is captured by that because it's not an outdoor pool. You're shaking your head. No, you don't think so. So I don't think we even are 100% clear. I know I've been getting asked by condominiums, and we have some pool clubs. What's the deal with pools? We've been asking. I just saw some guidance, a document that went out today from the county to the state, because they were on the state calls, like we are on the county calls, and then the county is on the state calls, and they try to consolidate all the questions that they've been getting from municipalities. Still no answer on, clubs. They did say, make sure you have the Department of Health come by, do the inspection, have your pool ready to go, so that that's not going to hold you up when the state does give the go ahead. But right now, that's not even out there. So also, I know that you've been working with us a little bit. It does look like we're going to try to pull together a remote concert series for some Fridays in July. Bill, I think you were on one of those calls. Our bathrooms in our town parks are getting some finishing touches on them in the next couple of weeks, even though I don't think bathrooms have been approved to be open. The village hasn't opened their bathrooms yet, correct? I don't know. It's kind of like.
Yeah, no, we haven't opened our bathrooms. And in fact, I was on a call today with other superintendents from across the county. And that was one of the topics that we were discussing. And a lot of people are going towards the porta potties in the parks because it's easier to clean. There's less surface space that's needed to be cleaned. So that's what a lot of people were saying. They're going to keep their bathrooms locked all summer and just bring in porta potties.
Right. So we did bring in porta potties to Engle Park because we were having a lot of unfortunate situations there and with all of our use. So we decided to bring some porta potties in, and also I believe at Gerlach and Cedar Lane, because we've just seen so much heightened use, and our bathrooms are closed and will remain that way. But meanwhile, we're getting them ready to open if we need to open them, and we feel that would be the better direction to go. So hopefully, again, as I said, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be in better shape to share information about that, and we'll go with the guidance that Bill shares with us as well. Again, I think the Youth Bureau is extremely exciting, and I know that that partnership with Communities That Care through Open Door is a great one, and very supportive of the Youth Bureau, and already looking to engage our young people in this tremendous set of challenges that we have before us right now as a country at our local level. So we're looking forward to hearing more about that from you. And I know that you've been also in a leadership position, taking a leadership role with the Youth Bureau. We appreciate all of that. And as far as the live pound class, I did try that once, but I think I don't have the that drummer sense. So I'm gonna opt for other boredom busters on other days when I'm bored. Anybody else have questions?
You're in luck, because tomorrow's boredom buster is on Thursday is a drumming lesson.
Oh, okay.
So
that I could use that. I need some stick, but I think last time I used some like light weights that I had, but I was going to use chopsticks. I might go back to chopsticks. We'll see. Does anybody have questions for our superintendent's of park and recreation?
I had a quick question, Bill. I was wondering, since you got such good participation on the online programs, are you going to keep some of those once things open?
Yes, I think that's what we're going to do. The question becomes like some of those, we're not charging for those programs, and we are paying instructors.
Right.
And typically our model is that when we did like a pound class in the community center, we would we would make we at least cover our costs for those programs. So we have to make a determination at some point, like how much longer can we just go and run these classes for free. We've been toying around the idea, like, maybe we could charge a lesser fee and people could sign in, or perhaps we offer like a virtual fitness program where we'd have a bunch of different programs you could participate in for a fee, and you would get a code and you could sign into any of these classes whenever. So those are all thoughts that we're thinking about right now. But right now the plan is to continue everything as is through the end of this month.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody else? Questions for Bill? Okay. Thank you very much for that update. And again, in trying circumstances, we appreciate your diligence and hard work. And thank you for helping with the mask distribution. I think we finally got that sorted out, that we were giving out 5 for every one we thought we were giving out. And people are just that much more, probably that much happier that they have a few more masks to last them through our pandemic. Hopefully we'll get out of it soon, but it doesn't seem likely. But the good news is that I haven't seen any new additions to our share file in the last few days. So we know that the numbers are definitely going down. So that's great news. I just want to see if I had any other things I wanted to mention. Youth Bureau, concert series, bathrooms, Spray Park, Cedar Lane Art Center. At some point, if that gets tied into your new plan for camp, I know that some of the teachers over there have been working hard to figure out ways to have safe spaces for students from the arts at some point down the line when we're ready to start doing that again. So we have lots of great resources when we can open them and offer them back up to the public. We look forward to doing so.
I have a question. We have all of those little kayaks and stuff. Would that be a socially distanced way to do something for a camp?
Yes, absolutely. So we were talking about that, and also using those for that youth leadership program that I mentioned. A lot of that program will be doing workshops, but also a lot of it is doing activities together. And I think kayaking is a perfect thing to do that where you can social distance. So we will certainly be doing that.
I'm not 100% sure you could do that safely at Cedar Lane Park, but I will tell you that we have some news, which is that the dock that we've been working on getting installed at Cedar Lane Park to replace the old dock that needed to be dismantled a couple of years ago is supposed to be delivered Thursday. So we may have a dock, and even without that dock, you can still launch from the far side of Cedar Lane Park, from the pond at Cedar Lane Park. So if that's an opportunity in the future, certainly we look forward to sharing that pond with the public and our camp programs. All right, so I think, thank you so much, Bill, for your report tonight. And again, we'll look forward to an update maybe later on in the summer. Next up, I think we are discussing our hopefulness to talk about a revised summer schedule for our board meetings. I don't know about you, but we have been round the clock Zoom meetings, and we think, even though we're not 100% sure, that the governor is most likely going to extend, as of June 6th, I believe the executive order would sunset. He's probably going to extend that. He's most likely waiting till the last minute. That was another question that the county executive's office has in the long list of questions to the state. But we thought that maybe we could condense our meeting schedule for the summer to give us a little bit of break from Zoom. In past years, we have made changes to our meeting schedule. I'm hoping we could do the same this summer. So after discussing with my staff, I'm proposing that we cancel the July 7th and July 21st meetings, which are work sessions, as well as August 4th and 18th. And that we will hold our regularly scheduled legislative sessions this summer, and then tack on work session items and departmental reports as needed. Hopefully we won't get into crazy lengthy meetings. I think we have been able to manage pretty well. If it does get crazy and we find that the meetings are going so long that we can't keep our eyes open anymore, then we will revert back to our originally planned schedule and or just add those meetings back in. So I just wanted to open it up to my board colleagues to see what you thought, and if this is something that you would support, and if so, then we can move forward with planning for that.
I mean, we always have the option to put it back and notice it if we need it, correct?
Indeed.
So I think that not a lot of people honestly sign on to the Zoom meetings, and a lot of the things we want to do would require public input. So limiting it while we're not really getting a lot of input does make sense to me. So
Again, we're
I
not
agree with
limiting.
that.
We're not limiting our work sessions. I mean, we're not limiting our legislative sessions, which is when we get the public input.
Okay, but we're not really working on any huge hot topics that the public would weigh in on at this time. I mean, if we are working on that, then I think we should have meetings, but.
Right. We're not. In fact, we've been trying to drag our feet a little bit on our comprehensive plan process, but we are going to probably have a recommendation for the board at our next meeting from the comp plan committee for our planning consultant for the comprehensive plan process. So then we're going to be working with them as well as PACE, Land Use Law Center, on developing public engagement, and we will figure out if that's something that we want to continue to do via Zoom, or if we want to wait longer until we have in-person participation. I know that for many land use boards and other boards, they have been getting even better participation on Zoom because people can tune in from the comfort of their own homes. It sometimes makes it a little easier than having to go out in bad weather or whatever. So I know that that's something that is a phenomena, and we may want to capitalize on that when we have the opportunity to do so, which we may be able to get a different group of people than would have normally participated. So I think that that's something that we need to continue to evaluate. And yes, we do see that we haven't had huge participation in our meetings, but then again, we don't generally have huge participation in our meetings, even when they're live, unless there's something that people are very upset about. In general, I would say, unless anybody disagrees with that.
Nope.
Okay.
As long as we're getting the work done, I think a revised schedule will work. And as you said, if it's not working, then we can revert back. So I'm fine with it.
And our other two council members?
I agree. We could always go back if we need to.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
You're good?
Sounds good to me.
Councilman Wiltshire shared with me today that he doesn't like these Zoom meetings. He wants to be in person when we can all talk around the table. And I have to agree with him. It's certainly easier. And we don't have birds chirping in the background and things like that.
I like the birds.
No, I like the birds too. When I went off and Victoria's on these calls, and we're on, before the whole public is on with us, and a variety of calls, and she's got this whole family of birds living right outside her window, so I get to hear them all.
I think a few of them flew the coop, so it might be a little quieter in the future.
They were tired of the Zoom meetings, obviously.
Like, I gotta get out of here.
So Councilman Wiltshire, as soon as we can get back in that room, what I know that I think the village board has also been talking about what options would be. I think that one of the things we were meeting at the courthouses, our court looks that like they're getting some directives to start phasing back in more operations. We've been looking at all of our safety protocols for the various buildings, even before, you know, the public gets let in. And while we were there, we were also talking about our public meetings, town and village public meetings that take place at the courthouse. And I know that the village has been talking about maybe moving their meetings to a place where social distancing is easier for the board as well as the public, if we are to get back to that point. And the community center may be a better option, you know, as we look forward to see if we can make that a possibility. Certainly there's more room to spread out there, both on the, you know, at the head table where the board would be, as well as for the public. So we shall keep you posted, and we will follow some of the lead that the village is taking on those matters.
Okay. Isn't it difficult to do video from the community center? Is
I
that a
mean,
bigger challenge?
honestly, the challenge to me from the community center is the sound is just not great, and
Yeah.
comfort is wanting at the for everybody. You know, the chairs and the tables for everybody, I think, are mighty uncomfortable. But and that's the nice thing. But I again, maybe, you know, half the chairs are going to be removed from the courtroom and moved over to the community center, and, you know, half the chairs would be spread out there. I don't 100% know yet which rooms we would be using, or what rooms aren't going to be used at the community center as a result. You know, these are all questions that we would have to look into more deeply as we think about public meetings, which again, I don't think anybody is anxious to jump into at this point, in-person public meetings, even if we are given the go-ahead. I think we're going to slowly edge in that direction, not quickly. Council Donna, do you have anything you wanted to add to any of this conversation?
No, the Zoom meetings, as you indicated earlier on, really depends upon the directive from the governor, and he can only, by executive order, issue directives for a period of 30 days, and so this order that originally, I think it was 202.1, it was one of the first ones issued, obviously. Might have been for St. Patrick's Day or something, that authorized the video conferencing meetings, was extended in April, and then when the 30 days was up, it was extended again. And so that's been the trend, to wait close to 30 days so that you get as many executive orders on one schedule as possible, and you can administratively extend them. And so what we've been seeing with the executive orders is that they'll be extended, except as modified by subsequent executive order. So you can kind of group a whole bunch of them together and say that these concepts are extended unless the governor has issued a subsequent order that modifies it. And to date, he has not done that with the Zoom meetings, not specifically Zoom meetings, but allowing public meetings under public officers to be held by video or teleconference, except to the extent that he then supplemented it by specifically addressing public hearings and saying that all public hearings can be suspended, currently the same directive, until June 6th, unless it can be held via video conferencing or teleconferencing, then they're allowed to go forward. So that's what we're working off of right now, and assuming that stays in effect, then certainly the board has the discretion to decide if and how to proceed with transitioning back into in-person meetings. But you know, that's kind of what we've all been waiting for, to confirm that that's going to happen, because it does require planning on the municipal level, because these meetings have to be noticed, and given the circumstances, you know, it might be tough to just walk back into 16 Croton and all sit around that table. So planning has to go into it, especially when the board's going to be holding meetings where there are public hearings, or the land use boards, they operate by public hearings. So there's a lot that goes into effect. But as far as the summer meeting schedule, you can't always renotice the meetings again. You do set your schedule at the beginning of every year at your organizational meeting. So we would have to appropriately renotice that those meetings are being canceled. However, you could always renotice them back in if need be.
The thing that freaked me out most about your statement was St. Patrick's Day. I can't even believe that.
It was one weekend.
Grand.
It was at that March 16th meeting when everything kind of, and then that night was the night that the governor, in anticipation, presumably for St. Patrick's Day, shut down bars and restaurants at 8 o'clock that night.
That's just crazy.
Half months ago.
I can't even believe it. Seems like forever. In any case, okay, so I think that it sounds to me like everybody's in favor, so we will move forward in that direction. And again, if we have to tweak again, we shall. I think that's it. So can I have a motion to go into executive session for personnel, advice of counsel, and contracts?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks so much, Holly. Thanks, Craig. You guys will sign off from here and go back into our executive session, okay? Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Oh, don't stop yet, but you guys are joining us for our new format for board meetings. And we talked a little bit about the executive order. So we will see what happens. We did advocate for that extension, and we'll see what happens with that. And we will keep you updated as we learn of any new guidelines from the governor's office. Please join us next week, most likely via Zoom, for our legislative session next Tuesday, June 9th. Have a great week. Please stay safe and wear your masks, wash your hands, keep your social distance. Have a great week, everybody. Fill out your